One last example is sharpening. And sometimes what you really want to sharpen are just those edges, just those extreme edges. I'm going to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to run a filter on it. Filter, other, remember what I said about being at the bottom of the list. All right, but once in a while you will come down here, and there's one called high pass. And what high pass does is it turns everything gray, and it just starts to show you some of the details. So what you can do is adjust this slider. There's not a setting you can give for every photo. What you do want to look for is the edges. See how I can see the edges here? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see any of the little halos and those little ghosting areas that you see around the edges. I don't want to see that. I just want to see some dark edges. So we hit OK. And now think of what blend mode would we use here. Contrast enhancing. Overlay or soft light. We'll drop out all the gray, and we'll just keep the parts of that layer that I want. So you can see before and then after. Same thing that we talked about with the last one, where if you look at it and you see overlay and it's too much, you know, the edges kind of get a little bit too white, too halo-y, then just give soft light a try. And sometimes that looks good. Now, one more blending example here. So there's these advanced blending options inside of your layers palette. And let me show you what they do. We'll take the moon, and we're going to drag it over and put it up into the sky here. And if I go down to the bottom of my layers palette here, you'll see that little F icon to add a layer style. Once I add that layer style, you're going to see blending options at the top here. So inside blending options, you get opacity, fill opacity, but you also get these blend if sliders at the bottom. So what do? Think of it this way. It's saying blend if this layer, what's this layer? The layer with the moon on it. So blend the moon layer if it's black or if it's white. If I blend it if it's white, I'll start to get rid of the moon. All right? But if what's on the layer is black, I'll start to get rid of the background. All right? If I go too far, you can see the way it's working here is it's getting rid of every shade that's from this point over. So it starts off at black, and as I move closer, you're going to see we're going to start to get rid of shades of gray, and then eventually we'll get to where we're going to get rid of everything over to the right because it's white. Okay? So I can use this, I can get rid of my black, and then now we need to show it behind the tree. So what's the next one? Blend if underlying layer. What's the underlying layer? It's the one with the trees on it, right? Blend if the underlying layer is black or if it's white. So same thing. If the underlying layer is white, nothing's really happening, right? But wherever the underlying layer is black, now we start to bring the trees back. Now, you'll probably notice the moon's going away too. So as soon as you see that, you'll pull back. However, let me zoom in. See how the trees don't really look, see how nice and soft and smooth they look on the one side? And when you get over the moon, they don't look that way? You can split these sliders. If you hold down the Option key on the Mac or Alt on a PC, and you click on that slider, you start dragging it. Don't go back too far, because then you see what happens. You start going back to the original. Just find that middle point. So what you're telling Photoshop here is now blend it if the colors fall between these two ranges and do a smoother blend. Where when I didn't split it, I was saying it was doing a hard blend. I was saying, hey, if it's this color or less, blend it. But now I'm saying if it falls between these, then do a very smooth blend between them. Okay? And that's the way you get your moon in there. And that's the advanced blending. So just to take one more look at it. Just think of it as a formula. Blend if this layer is the layer that you're working on, if it's black or if it's white. The next one is the layer under the one you're working on. And again, you can blend if it's black and white or red, green, and blue. So now you can start to introduce colors in there too.